Welcome to the President of the Parliament of Montenegro and his delegation who are in the gallery today. We now come to Prime Minister's questions. Number one goes to Ian Lavery. Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, our budget took important measures to tackle the cost of living. That's why we've frozen rail fares, prescription charges and cut energy bills for every family by £150. Today, Mr. Speaker, we're going further. For too long, parents have been pushed into spending more on infant formula than needed, told they're paying for better quality and left hundreds of pounds out of pocket. I can announce today that we're changing that. We will take action to give parents and carers the confidence to access infant formula at more affordable prices, with clearer guidance for retailers and helping new parents use loyalty points and vouchers. Together, Mr. Speaker, that will save them up to £500 before their child's first birthday. That builds on our action to lift 500,000 children out of poverty and breakfast clubs, and our child poverty strategy will be published later this week. This morning, I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The North East is still picking up the pieces of the destruction and decimation of 14 years of Tory government. Men in the North East of England still expect to live 10 years less than people in other parts of the country. Women in the North East of England are making, on average, more than £11,000 in wage than people in other parts of the country. 33% of kids in my patch in Blythe and Ashington are living in poverty. The unemployment rates are above the national average, and the national wages are below the national average. You know, Mr. Speaker, the people in the North East are a proud breed, and we deserve much more than this, mate. Can I ask the Prime Minister if he can assure me and the people in my constituency and in the North East if there's much to look forward to on the horizon? And will he meet with me to discuss how we can shape it?
Prime Minister.
He talks about poverty in his constituency and they heckle him. They should be ashamed. To tackle poverty, Mr. Speaker. We've abolished the two-child cap. That will be over 3,000 children, I think, in his constituency lifted out of poverty. I'm very proud to be able to do that. We've boosted the national minimum wage by £1,500. We're adding £150 that we're taking off everyone's energy bills. We're driving economic growth right across the country, devolving power and investing across all of the country.
Come to the Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And can I first of all pay tribute to Sir John Stanley, who passed away yesterday. Sir John was a dedicated MP for 41 years, and we send our deepest condolences to his family. Mr. Speaker, does the Prime Minister believe that when an organisation descends into total shambles, the person at the top should resign?
Mr. Speaker, can I first join in her comments in relation to Sir John, and I'm sure I speak for the whole House in that respect. Mr. Speaker, I was very proud to lead this party at the budget last week, where the Chancellor set out that we would protect the NHS, which we've done in the budget, create the conditions for economic stability, not repeating the mistake of austerity, and bearing down on the cost of living by taking £150 off energy bills. We're fixing the mess that they left, and I'm very proud to be doing so.
Mr. Speaker, he doesn't want to answer a question about taking responsibility because he likes to blame everyone else except himself, and so does the Chancellor. We now know that the head of the OBR was forced out for telling the truth, that the Chancellor did not need to raise taxes on working people. We also know that the Chancellor was briefing the media, twisting the facts, also she could break her promises and raise taxes. Mr. Speaker, if she was a CEO, she would have been fired, and she might even have been prosecuted for market abuse. That's why we've written to the Financial Conduct Authority. So will the Prime Minister ensure the Chancellor fully cooperates with any investigation?
Prime Minister.
She's completely losing the plot. She clearly didn't read. May I pay tribute to Richard Hughes and his leadership of the OBR? He made very clear why he stepped down, and I've made very clear my support of the OBR. But she says take responsibility. Under this Chancellor, Mr. Speaker, growth is up this year, defeating and beating the forecast. Wages are up, more since the general election than in 10 years of the Tories. We've had, I think, 5 interest rate cuts. NHS waiting lists are down. We've had record investment into this country. We're turning the page on their austerity and reckless experiment on borrowing. I'd compare that record to them every day of the week.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister talks about losing the plot. Let me read to him what his own cabinet members are saying, and I quote, "The handling of this budget has been a disaster from start to finish." Yes. Who said that? Was it him? Was it her? In fact, I think it was probably her, actually. It was probably the Chancellor. In fact, Mr. Speaker, one of his ministers said the Chancellor and Prime Minister look weak and incompetent. The country agrees. We know that there were endless Treasury briefings to justify raising taxes on hard-working people to pay for benefits. And those briefings had real-world consequences. Hundreds of thousands of people drew down their pension, an irreversible act. So the Prime Minister pays tribute to the head of the OBR. If the head of the OBR had to resign over market-sensitive leaks, why is the Chancellor still in her job?
Mr. Speaker, last year they left us with a £22 billion black hole. This year, at the beginning of the process, the OBR did a productivity review on their record in office, and that cost an additional £16 billion that we had to find in the budget. But notwithstanding that, Mr. Speaker, we protected the NHS, waiting times are coming down. Notwithstanding that, we've got cutting borrowing at the fastest rate in the G7. Notwithstanding that, we've got £150 off energy bills. That's added to rail bills and prescription as well.
Order. Mr. Holden, your voice carries more than mine. The difference is yours will be carrying outside, not in the chamber. Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what she doesn't understand is that picking up a £16 billion tab for their failure is not a good starting point for any budget. And the OBR said yesterday, Mr. Speaker, that the Chancellor's speech was not misleading. So if the Leader of the Opposition had any decency, she'd get up now and apologise.
Mr. Speaker.
You might be enjoying a cup of tea with Mr. Holden if you carry on.
Mr. Speaker, no one believes a word that the Prime Minister says. We now know the black hole was fake, her book was fake, her CV was fake, even her chess claims are made up. She doesn't belong in the Treasury, she belongs in La La Land. They raised taxes on working people, that's £16 billion, was to increase benefits to protect them from their backbenchers. He now boasts about removing the two-child benefit cap. But he used to say that it was unaffordable. He even removed the whip from 7 of them for wanting the same thing. He is very happy to throw them under a bus when it pleases him. So I asked the Prime Minister, how did it suddenly become affordable at the very time he needed to save his own skin?
Mr. Speaker, the vast majority of families we helped in the budget are in work. Yes. 3/4 of children in poverty are in working families. Their policy of nearly 10 years on the two-child benefit cap had one result and one result only. It dragged hundreds of thousands of children into poverty. They should be utterly ashamed of that. And I'm very proud that we're lifting 500,000 children out of poverty, because I profoundly believe that every child should have a chance in life. Every child should be able to go as far as their talent will take them. So that's why we're lifting 500,000 out of poverty. But they're the same old Tories, the party of child poverty.
If all of this is true, why did he take the whip away from the people who are asking for it? let's remind the Chancellor, exactly a year ago today, on the 3rd of December 2024, the Chancellor said, we will never have to repeat a budget like this one. If only. He may have taken the whip away, but the rebels had the last laugh. The Prime Minister has lost. He can't run his own party. He can't, let alone the country, Mr. Speaker. Let me quote what the hard-left former Shadow Chancellor said. He said, we've won. He's right, isn't he?
Prime Minister.
Speaker, I've said repeatedly that bringing down child poverty is a moral mission, a political mission, and a personal mission. They drove hundreds of thousands of children into poverty who will pay the price for the rest of their lives for their failure. We're taking 500,000 of them out of poverty. Very proud to do so. That is good for children, it's good for the economy, and it's good for the NHS, who will have less of a burden on them. They should be ashamed of what they did on child poverty, and she should stand up and she should apologise.
Kemi Badenoch.
Mr. Speaker, let me tell the Prime Minister, making the whole country poorer and destroying jobs is not how you keep children out of poverty. In the past week, we've seen broken promises, broken leadership, and a broken budget for Benefit Street. The Education Secretary is chuntering. Where is the money for the children on special educational needs? Where is it? Unemployment is up. It's coming out of her budget. She's shaking her head. She doesn't know where that money is coming from. But let's be clear, Mr. Speaker. Unemployment is up. There are more children now growing up in workless households because people are losing their jobs. It's not just the head of the OBR who's losing his job. Millions of people have been hung out to dry by their budget. And isn't the truth, Mr. Speaker, that behind it all is a Prime Minister who only cares about one person's job, his own?
Mr. Speaker, she wants to put 500,000 children back into poverty. She thinks the Chancellor should resign because the economy is improving. We are turning the page on their failure. We are bringing waiting lists down. We're bringing stability that cuts inflation and interest rates. And we're bringing down bills. We're building a brighter future.
Bahama.
Conversations about a new Ireland are deepening, with people from all sorts of backgrounds having serious, hopeful discussions about building something new. Yesterday here in Westminster, along with the member for South Antrim, who has a different view to me, we hosted two of the island's most respected journalists, making the case both for and against Irish unity. While both positions were argued, clear voice was at the time for careful preparation is now. Does the Prime Minister agree with me that while there is much work to do before any referendum, that to avoid a mess like Brexit, it is prudent and completely compatible with the Good Friday Agreement for the Irish and British governments to jointly prepare for constitutional change?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her for her question? One of the greatest achievements of the last Labour government was the Belfast Good Friday Agreement, and we fully support that agreement, which brought peace and stability for Northern Ireland. It does, as she well knows, set out a process for future decisions, which under the agreement I support. And we are focused in working constructively with the Executive and others on all issues, including the record settlement under the budget for Northern Ireland.
The Liberal Democrat, Sir Ed Davey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I join the Leader of the Opposition in paying tribute to Sir John Stanley and sending our condolences to his family? I had the huge pleasure of working with him over a number of years on developing the relationship between our country and Korea, and he was always a true gentleman. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I was in Royal Tunbridge Wells, where tens of thousands of people have had no water for 5 days. This is now a public health emergency, and shockingly, it's the second time in just 3 years when South East Water have let down the people of Tunbridge Wells badly. Parents are queuing up for bottled water for their kids. Pensioners are relying on neighbours to fetch some water for them. Businesses have closed down. Schools and GPs have been forced to shut. South East Water said it would be sorted on Monday, then yesterday, and today it still hasn't been sorted. So will the Prime Minister convene COBRA Does he agree that it's time for him to get a grip of this crisis so it is sorted?
Well, can I thank him for raising this really important issue? And it is shocking for all the reasons he's set out. And I too have heard South East Water say, as he rightly says, actually Sunday into Monday, Monday into Tuesday, and Tuesday into Wednesday, that they were sorting it, and they still haven't sorted, and there's really serious consequences. And we are bearing down on that, as he would expect, because it's such a serious issue.
Sir Ed Davey.
Prime Minister's reply and the actions of the Water Minister, but I do think the government will need to do more because South East Water have failed so badly. If I can turn to the budget now, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister's chief economic advisor has recommended a customs union with the EU as one of the most effective ways of generating growth, and we agree. So instead of hitting people with higher taxes in the middle of a cost of living crisis, will the Prime Minister change course in economic policy and listen to the piece of wise economic advice from his own economics advisor?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we are getting closer relationships with the EU on a number of fronts, including trade and the economy, because that is good for businesses across our country, has been welcomed by them. We'll continue down that path, but we do have clear red lines in relation to the single market and the customs union. So within those constraints, we will move closer.
Dr. Becky Cooper.
Mr. Speaker, gambling addiction is a serious public health harm, causing ill health and misery for millions of people in this country. The industry now spends £2 billion a year on advertising, often targeting vulnerable people and exposing our children to harm. Along with many members across this House, I very much welcome the Chancellor's announcement last week to tax harmful online gambling products. Would the Prime Minister agree with me, therefore, that to continue this essential work, we must now act to tackle harmful gambling advertising to protect the health of our children?
Prime Minister.
Well, I thank her for raising this, because she's right that harm from online gambling has surged. And, Mr. Speaker, NHS referrals are up 91% in the past year. The decisions we made in the budget mean investment in public services and lifting over 500,000 children out of poverty. But we are working with industry to ensure that adverts don't exacerbate harm. And through our £26 million investment, we're helping the Gambling Commission crack down on black market sites and illegal adverts to keep players safe.
Paul Holmes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In 2020, the Justice Secretary said criminal trials without juries are a bad idea. The Prime Minister himself said there should be a right to trial by jury in all criminal cases. Now they want to scrap them. Mr. Speaker, with a Chancellor who can't count and a Justice Secretary who's lost count of the number of people he's let out of prison, is it any wonder that the people of this country can't trust a single word this Prime Minister or government says ever again?
Mr. Speaker, they left a broken criminal justice system where victims of rape and serious sexual violence are waiting 3 or 4 years for trial. Only this week I've heard further examples of 14-year-old girls and 16-year-old girls having to give evidence 4 years after the allegation. That is not justice for them, and I'm determined that we will deal with it. Now, as he well knows, of all criminal cases going to court, 90% have always been in the magistrates' court. 90%. 10% go to the Crown Court. Of that 10%, 7% plead guilty. That means that 3% of all criminal cases go forward for a jury trial. Not all of our cases. We are making changes, sensible changes, to ensure that we can make sure that victims get justice and it's denied under the failure that they left.
Jill Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm really pleased to hear many constituents tell me how much local NHS services have improved since this Labour government entered office. But some, like David Wootton from Atherstone, have faced long delays. He was told he'd have to wait 5 months for X-ray results from George Eliot Hospital, and he's not the only one. My constituents in North Warwickshire and Bedworth deserve better. Can the Prime Minister set out how he will go further and faster to get our NHS fighting fit again?
Prime Minister.
Can I start by saying I'm sorry to hear that David, her constituent, is waiting. We did take decisions at the budget to invest in the NHS and tackle waiting lists. And that is to help people like David. We delivered £29 billion extra investment into the NHS and scrapped NHS England to invest in the front line. We are opening, Mr Speaker, 250 neighbourhood health centres to treat patients closer to home, and we've got over 5 million extra appointments being delivered. And waiting lists are down 230,000. They chunted, they absolutely destroyed our health service, and we're picking it up. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My constituent Claire, she runs Claire Howard Jewellery in Fakenham, and she's just one of many small business owners who contacted me after the budget from last week. She was absolutely incensed by the style of the Chancellor, where she seemed to give the impression that she was reducing taxes on small businesses, when the exact opposite is the case. Claire's tax is going up on her shop, not coming down. So could the Prime Minister do Claire and many other shop owners the common courtesy of just admitting that their taxes are going up and not down?
Prime Minister.
He raises an important point. Let me address it. Because at the heart of this issue is that temporary business rate relief was put in during the pandemic by the last government. That was the right thing to do, and we supported it, but it was temporary relief. That is now coming to an end, and obviously there's a re-evaluation that goes with it. So what we're doing is permanently lowering the rates for leisure, retail and hospitality, but because of what the changes are, we're putting in transitional relief of £4 billion. That means there'll be a cap on increases for small businesses, and we're finding that by adjusting the burden between them and the online giants. But in the end, it's the temporary business rates coming to an end that we have to adjust through this policy.
Oliver Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Speaker. And I declare an interest as the chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group on Multiple Sclerosis and as the proud son of a lifelong multiple sclerosis patient, and she joins us in the gallery today. Neurological conditions like MS or Parkinson's affect 1 in 6, but wait times for first and follow-up neurology appointments have increased by a huge 65% since 2020, risking delayed treatment and diagnosis at critical time. Now, I'm proud this government is bringing NHS waiting lists down, cutting emissions, investing in care and equipment. But will my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, formalise these efforts and support an NHS modern service framework for neurology and get these wait times down?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him for his question and for sharing the personal interest that he has in this. We are focused on bringing down waiting lists and making sure every patient receives the best possible care. As he knows, the 10-year health plan announced a new modern service framework to help rapidly improve care, and I'll reassure him we'll do absolutely consider whatever else we can do. And in the meantime, we're acting to improve neurology care and have cut wait time for care, neurology waiting times by over 15,000.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Alison in Oxford is threatened with new service charges by her housing association Green Square Accord for shrubbery she happily cut herself for 22 years and a cleaning of a communal area that simply doesn't exist. Meanwhile, Rebecca's charges have more than doubled over the last 4 years with no explanation why. They are not the only provider doing this. It's a wild west out there. So will this government consider Liberal Democrat plans for a new regulator and a cap on these outrageous rip-off service charges?
Prime Minister.
Well, can I thank her for raising that? And we are implementing the Leasehold and Freehold Reform Act, which is long overdue, providing homeowners with greater rights, powers and protections. And through this, we will strengthen regulation to protect leaseholders from abuse and poor service, which she's highlighted, bring the injustice of leasehold to an end. That'll protect up to 1.75 million households and make sure leaseholders receive standardised service charge documentation, making it easier for them to challenge unreasonable bills, because the points she makes are good points, and this bill will help change that.
Graham Stringer.
Mr Speaker, this country can be proud of its history of religious tolerance and religious freedom. The quid pro quo of that is the right to criticise religion. Can the Prime Minister ensure this House that there will be no introduction or reintroduction of a blasphemy law, either by statute, by judicial overreach, or by a non-statutory definition of Islamophobia?
Yes, I can give him that assurance, and it's important that I do so.
Lewis Cocking.
Mr. Speaker, the best form of welfare in this country should be a well-paid job. But with unemployment up and this Labour government has chosen to raise taxes to spend more on an even bloated welfare and benefit system, is the Prime Minister happy with the message that sends to my hard-working constituents in Broxbourne and constituents from right across the United Kingdom?
We have a broken welfare system. Who broke it? Guess. The party opposite. We're bringing in reforms to change it and mend it. And what did they do? They voted against them. And under their watch, they drove up welfare spending by £33 billion. So we need no lectures from them on welfare.
Mr. Speaker, as a lifelong Dale fan, I'm delighted that Rochdale Football Club are top of the National League right now. But after 14 years of Tory cuts, sadly, my town is near the top of another league table, a league table people don't want to be in, the Child Poverty League table. So does the Prime Minister agree that lifting 5,000 kids out of poverty in Rochdale, plus cutting the energy bills by 150 quid for every household, and crucially expanding the Warm Homes discount, will mean that this budget is a family budget that reduces the cost of living for everyone in the country?
Let me start by congratulating Rochdale Football Club for being top of the league for the time being. Of course, well, I say that because I know who's top of the Premier League, but it will be March and April we'll actually find out who wins. But, Mr. Speaker, he's right. Thanks to the actions in the budget, every household will see £150 off their energy bills. And because we've extended the Warm Homes discount now to 6 million of the poorest households, they will also save an additional £150. Now, in the North West, that benefits about 280,000 households. That's a huge cost of living support for families, alongside freezing prescription charges, rail fares and boosting the minimum wage.
Liz Jarvis.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituent Tracy owns O'Brien's, a lovely cafe in the heart of Eastleigh. She works tirelessly to make it a success, but spiralling costs, including business rates, VAT and the hike to employers' national insurance contributions, mean she hasn't been able to take a salary for 4 months. David, the owner of Steamtown Brewery, and Jane, the manager of the Holiday Inn in my constituency, say their businesses will be impacted by the government's stealth tax on our high streets. They feel let down. So will the Prime Minister look again at our call for an emergency cut on VAT for hospitality?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we put in place a strategy for small businesses, which was broadly welcomed by small businesses because they contributed to it. And that involves some of the key asks that they made of us, including late payment and for hospitality, greater flexibility when it comes to licensing. Of course, we'll always look at other measures that can help small businesses. We set out quite a lot of them in our small business strategy.
Andrew Peix.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At the weekend, I had the great privilege to join volunteers from Peterborough Food Bank at the Tesco in Warrington on their autumn food drive. I'd like to put on record my thanks to my constituents and those of other honourable members who supported this Trussell Trust initiative over the last week. One of the most significant challenges my food bank have consistently talked to me about is child poverty. And even though the party opposite oppose our plans, nearly 9,000 children will be lifted out of poverty across Peterborough because of the decisions our Chancellor took in the budget last week. Does the Prime Minister agree with me? This isn't just the right thing to do for these children, it's an investment in our future and in our growth.
Prime Minister. I thank him for raising this, and I was in his constituency just the other week, and we could see the impact that this measure would have on children. In Peterborough, as he says, 9,000 children living in poverty. In his constituency, 5,500 children living in poverty, and we are lifting them out of poverty, and that is the right thing to do. The party opposite shamefully dragged hundreds of thousands of children into poverty, and they will pay that price for the rest of their lives. They should be ashamed of themselves.
I was recently the target of an AI deepfake video announcing my defection to Reform. And as colleagues across the House will know, that's about as likely as Reform moving from pub populism to a coherent programme for government. I'm delighted to reassure my Chief Whip and the House that I am and always have been a faithful Conservative. But does the Prime Minister agree with me that while satire has always been an important part of our politics, the rise of AI deepfake disruption is a serious threat to our democracy? And would he agree to work with me and cross-party MPs to frame some appropriate reforms as proposed by the recent Speakers' Conference to protect our democratic integrity?
Well, can I thank him for raising that? And it is an important issue. We do need to work cross-party where we can on deepfake, on AI and other issues that need to be addressed. I had, I'm afraid, missed his alleged defection to Reform. I wouldn't have believed it if I had seen it. But I have to say, there's a lot of them going. There's three ex-MPs have gone, I think, this week. They talk about leaks. That's where their leaks are going, to Reform. And I saw a leak, talking of leaks, on the front page of the Financial Times this morning, where apparently the leader of Reform says he wants to merge with the party opposite and sit down here with them. An absolutely unholy alliance of austerity and failure.
Elsa Blundell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week I've been speaking to Tetrasil, warehouse workers at Tetrasil in my constituency, who have been given an appalling ultimatum in the run-up to Christmas: either sign a new contract with reduced pay and breaks, or lose your jobs. Can the Prime Minister advise me what action can be taken against rogue employers like Tetrasil who take action against workers and seek to exploit them and undermine their rights?
Well, can I thank her for raising this and for fighting hard for her constituents who are facing awful uncertainty, which is bad enough at any time of the year, is really bad at this time of the year. And our thoughts are with the workers and their families who are facing the uncertainty that she has flagged. Our landmark Employment Rights Bill will strengthen workers' rights and put them in a better position, including ending unscrupulous fire and rehire practices. But I thank her for fighting for her constituents.
Shocker Adam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. No religion, no theology, no philosophy is beyond critique or scrutiny, and we must protect freedom of speech at all costs. But Islamophobia is real. At least for Zainab Hussain in my city, who was run over not just once, but twice simply for being a Muslim. She survived. Not so lucky was Makram Ali, who was killed outside Finsbury Mosque simply for being Muslim. Not so lucky was Muhammad Salim, who was stabbed to death simply for being a Muslim. I would like to ask the Prime Minister that in opposition, a definition of Islamophobia was adopted. In government, it has been dropped. Can I ask what's changed?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him for raising those examples of hatred in his constituency? And he's right to raise them, and we should all condemn them. Hatred in all its forms should be condemned by all of us in this House, and that includes anti-Muslim hatred as well, and we intend to act on it.
Right. Please, Anna Dixon.
Mr. Speaker, this week I met constituents Mike and Sue. Their autistic son, Jimmy, was imprisoned as a young man. The judge recommended a sentence of 2.5 years. Jimmy is now in his 40s. He's been in prison for nearly 20 years on an IPP sentence. Jimmy's doctors say he's safe and well for discharge. There's a supported living flat waiting for him in Shipley. Will the Prime Minister please help by ending the injustice of these IPP sentences and help get Jimmy home?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her for raising this case? She raised it with me in the lobby last night, and it is a really shocking case of 2 years leading to someone being in prison already over 20 years and not yet released, and with delays in the release process. The Justice Secretary will look into this case and meet to discuss her concerns to see what more can be done. It's right that IPP sentence has been abolished, and we're committed to supporting the progression of all those who are serving such sentences.
Rachel Gilmore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a charming elderly constituent who, after a series of very major medical interventions, has been left in excruciating, uncontrolled pain after her opioids were withdrawn, pushing her to suicidal ideations. Can the Prime Minister shed light on what plans His Majesty's Government has to help people manage pain to live a happier and more comfortable life? And please, can I have a meeting with the appropriate minister?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank her for raising what's an awful case? And we are putting in further protection and support, but I will take her up. I think it is important for her to discuss that with the relevant minister, because the case that she has referred to does sound appalling.
Jane Kirkham.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under this Labour government, NHS waiting lists are coming down. I welcome the commitment to refurbish Truro Health Park in my constituency, one of the first new neighbourhood health centres in the country. Cornwall's already leading the way with new neighbourhood health teams, and upgrading Truro Health Park will help deliver care for patients in their own communities. Will the Prime Minister confirm this investment reflects decisions taken by this government to prioritise community healthcare, and that services won't be removed before effective community replacements do come online?
Prime Minister.
Well, thank her for raising this. I'm delighted that her constituency will benefit from one of the new 250 centres. Neighbourhood health centres will provide simpler, more convenient access to a full range of health and care services on people's doorsteps, and GP services will be protected before it comes online. This is about early intervention, Mr. Speaker, continuing to drive down NHS waiting lists and creating a more modern NHS that is fit for the future.
Bernard Jones.
Mr. Speaker, could the Prime Minister give his assessment of the latest news that President Putin has again turned down terms for peace in Ukraine, and in the light of his extraordinary outburst designed to destabilise our understanding of the truth? He did say Russia is ready for war with NATO. How ready are we?
Prime Minister.
Can I thank him for raising this? And I updated the House last week on the attempts to get a lasting peace. We all know that Putin is the aggressor here. We all know that Putin is dragging his feet, not wanting to come to the table, not wanting to reach an agreement. We have to continue to put pressure on in every conceivable way. That is in supporting Ukraine with capability and resource, but also ensuring that our sanctions, acting with allies, do as much damage to the economy in Russia as we can, and pressure that we can put on. We'll continue to do so. But he's absolutely right to raise it, and I thank him for doing so.
That completes Prime Minister's questions. Let the Chamber change over.
Thank you, Mr.
Right, we come to the first urgent question. Sir Mel Stride, Shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Mr. Speaker, to ask the Chancellor of the Exchequer if she will make a statement on the resignation of the Chair of the OBR.
Minister Murray.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, last week the economic and fiscal outlook was accessed prematurely ahead of the budget. The OBR took full responsibility for this and conducted a review into what had happened. That report was published on Monday, and I came to this House to make a statement. That report found, and I quote, systemic issues, which led, in their words, to the worst failure in the 15-year history of the OBR. Whilst I was making that statement on Monday afternoon, Richard Hughes, the chair of the OBR, resigned. The Chancellor has written to Mr. Hughes to thank him for his many years of public service, and I have put my thanks on record in this House too. That decision was a matter for Mr. Hughes. We will work closely with the OBR to ensure robust security arrangements are in place before